Members across that side, you represent some of the poorest areas in Kent.
That's humanity. That's what I got elected for.
To pay for this when you put no money aside for it.
Good evening all. My name's Dean Burns. A couple of years ago I was an aerial tree artist, and just like everyone in the room today, I come to the conclusion that this country was going rapidly down the pan. So I decided to stand. So my division is Ashford East. It's what I would call the woke central of Ashford. I'm the first right-wing candidate to ever win Ashford East. It's always been Liberal Democrats and the Green Party forever. It's never been the Conservatives, and we campaigned hard there. And I think, you know, people wanted change, and so did I, and so did you all. But for me, it wasn't under the previous party that I was with. I was the one that actually walked across the floor, so I wasn't suspended or anything like that. I just couldn't put up with the internal fractions that was going on there. I'm not going to go too much into all of that, but it was just impossible to do local constituency work. I kind of held them to account, so I went out doing lots of pothole logging, and I got reprimanded for doing that. I had one constituent that had a blocked drain, and it was going to be weeks before that could be done, so I just went out there and put pressure on South Water, and I managed to get it unblocked within 24 hours. And it's little things like that that is what I stood for, to be a councillor. And you wouldn't believe the trouble I got myself into, because I went against protocol. And it was just constantly a battle to try and do good work in constituency work. And like sort of Paul said earlier, the beauty of this party is that Rupert's made it quite clear. You get on with the local counselling and leave the national stuff to us. Obviously we all believe in the same things as what Rupert and the guys do, but we can allow them to get on with that, so we can get on with what matters to the people. And I think the key thing to that is that we can actually work with other parties. So unfortunately a motion that didn't get a chance to go through on Thursday was about Kent waterways. It was about improving Kent's water. It was about, the motion was about holding Southern Water and South East Water to account, which who doesn't want that? It doesn't matter which party you're in, you know, we all want that. And it was also other things in that motion was about any new builds that are going to go up from here on, they must ensure that they follow the right kind of rules, which is not what's happening at the moment. So that's something that all parties, like you know, when it comes to local governance, we should all be working together to do that. And unfortunately, the previous party that I was with, we wasn't allowed to do that. We wasn't allowed to even talk to any of the other parties. And I never liked that, because for me it was not about, I always stood and I said, I'm a patriot before I'm a party, and that's any party. And the problem with having that attitude is that I didn't fit in. I should have been party before the people, and it just never would wash for me. Going on to the person that talked about parish councils, quite right, they're not political, but they are. I've got 4 parish councils, and they're all like proper green. But the hard work that we work together, as you know, doing things at the parish councils like Hinshill Park, it's a new build, and I've managed to get all WL lines put in because it's quite close to William Harvey Hospital. I've managed to get all WL lines put in things like that, which has just improved the community. And it doesn't matter who votes which way, everybody gets something from that. So these are the kind of benefits that we're trying to do, and it just became impossible for me to do that. Some people say, you know, you're better off peeing outside the tent than you are peeing inside the tent, and I find actually in local politics you're better off peeing from the outside in, because I can now hold them accountable for. I was still a reform candidate during the budget, and I'm not going to go into all of that, but I did have my concerns about the budget. I'm not going to scare everyone with it now, but you know, I did have some concerns regarding the budget. I wasn't allowed to talk about it, so if you were to look back at the live feed, you'll see me thanking the officers and stuff like that, but a big chunk of that was missed and cut out by the whips because they didn't want that being shown. And I felt as though people should be hearing that kind of thing. So I think now we're in a good place. I think, you know, moving on from here, you know, it's really, you know, it's really positive. And the parish council, actually, the clerk said to me a couple of weeks ago that I've done so much in the area now by, you know, installing baby changing units in the men's and the women's and the disabled things by using my grant money. I've been quite open to spend my money on mental health charities and things like that within my division and Ashford as a whole. Whereas my predecessor, he kept banking it and he just wouldn't spend the money. And then it got to the end of the 3-year term and the government basically took all that money back. So that was a complete waste. I've used money on things like for fireworks nights and just things just to make people just feel a bit better about themselves, and you know. But I won't gabble on for now. But so I'm Ashford East. We're all working together as a big team. We will continue to work as a big team, and I think the main key thing is that we're not going to rush into this. We're not, you know, people probably asking all of us councillors and that lot, you know, are you going to be standing or is anyone standing in May? I think it's quite right that we actually just take stock and just, for now, I think like with these, is just slowly get these out to people so they know that we're there. And I think over the next year or so, things will be really good.
Yeah.
But I can sleep now. I can sleep at night. I wasn't sleeping properly because reporting things like potholes, I'm getting my constituents going, well done Dean, that's really good. But what they didn't know is that I was getting emails saying, you know, you're being demanded up to County Hall to basically be reprimanded because you're spending our money. And it's like, well, you know. So yeah, so it's tricky, it's not easy, and I didn't come into this either to be a councillor or anything like that. And this isn't about point scoring against the others, but there's a lot of the other councillors there that haven't even been thinking about the constituency for a long time because they're already talking about being MPs, and they have been for quite some time. That was one of my other problems, is what's going to happen next year if there's an election, where's all the councillors going to be? Because you're all want to stand, so what's going to happen to County Hall? And they're like, and I was like, no, we can't do this. But anyway, me gabbling on now, so I'll leave it at that, and thank you for all coming out. Good to see you again, Ben. And yeah, onwards and upwards. Back to it.